openSUSE is one of many Linux distributions that are available on the internet. It comes in two different flavors, Leap or Tumbleweed. It also comes in other specialized flavors, but I'm not going to be focusing on that. So what you can do is you can download one of these and use their graphical user interface to install openSUSE onto your computer. It's really easy to use and it's very user friendly. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to install openSUSE via Bootstrap through the command line rather than use the graphical user interface. I created this guide here on how to install openSUSE via Bootstrap, and it took me about a few weeks to figure out how openSUSE sets up their BTRFS with Snapper. I believe I got most of it correct, but overall it does work. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you need to do is you need to go download the openSUSE live CD. So you pick up your the type of computer or CPU that you have. Most likely you'll need this one here. And so once you downloaded the ISO, you have two options to take. You first have to boot off the live CD, and then you have to choose an installation path. So you can either do the recommended path, which is to go through rescue mode and install Bootstrap that way, or you can fully load the openSUSE live CD. There is a problem with setting up the password if you were to load the fully load the openSUSE live CD. So to avoid that, I'm going to install openSUSE through rescue mode, and I'm going to connect to that live CD through SSH, and I'll show you how I did that. All right, so this is my VirtualBox. I've already set up the virtual machine. I'll go ahead and start it. Okay, and so I want to hit the letter E to edit. And then I want to go here and type in single to get into rescue mode. Okay, so I get this message, please enter, press enter for maintenance. And then I get the shell. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start the network manager and SSH. Now I'm going to set the password for root. So next I'm going to use, now that I've set up the SSH server on the live CD, I can now connect to it using an SSH client. So I'm going to use this one here. Oh, that's right. I need to grab the IP address. It's 111. Okay, I'm logged in. You can ignore this message here. Okay, now that I'm logged into the live CD, I can now use my SSH client here to copy and paste. So the next step is to figure out your desktop, your disk layout, and I'm going to do this here. I'm going to set up two partitions. The first partition will be for my operating system, and my second partition will be for my home. And for this second partition, it'll be encrypted using LUKS. And so my OS will not be encrypted, but my home directory will be encrypted. So let me go ahead and start. Let me set that up here. Okay, so I have 50 gigs, and I'll go ahead and make the first partition. I'll make it 30 gigs, and this will be for the OS. And then for my second partition will be the home, and that will be the rest, which will be 20 gigs. So this will be my OS, and this will be my encrypted home. So since I'm going to use BTRFS, I'll need to follow this section here. So the first thing I need to do is I need to make the BTRFS file system on the first partition. Okay. And then this here is optional. This UUID is identical to the fstab at the bottom of this guide here. So I'm gonna actually set it back to this number so that makes it a little bit easier for this setup. Okay, well, actually, I need to first do this. Okay. So now I need to mount. Okay, now I need to create the sub volume, and since my home will not be BTRFS, I need to remove this line here. So my home will be encrypted. It won't be BTRFS. So I need to copy. Okay, and I want to remove this line here, since my home will be the extended 4. Okay. And next is disable copy on write for var. So that's a good idea. var usually has the database and Docker images. So you definitely want to disable the copy on write for var. Okay. And then I want to create the snapper configuration. Set snapshot 1 as the default snapshot. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. All right. So now we need to make the directories so that we can mount the subvolumes. And once again, since my home will not be BTRFS, I need to remove that line. Okay, now I need to mount the subvolume. And once again, I need to remove the home. Okay. Okay, that concludes setting up BTRFS for the OS partition. All right, we're gonna skip that part. We don't need to do that. EFI, we'll skip that. All right, so now we're going to set up the home directory with looks, encrypted looks. Okay, so now we need to open the partition that we just formatted. And now we want to make the partition using extended 4. Okay. And now we want to mount the partition that we just created. Actually, I think I need to, before we do that, yeah, I need to make the home directory. So now we need to mount the second partition. Okay, and let's check. There we go. So this is for the OS, the BTRFS. This will be my encrypted home using the extended 4 partition via looks. All right, so we'll skip that. All right, so now we need to set up the repository, the openSUSE repository. So let's go ahead and install Leap 16. Okay, and let's go ahead and run it. Okay, so that sets up the repository, and in case I didn't mention it, it sets up the repository inside the mount partition, which is currently on the which is mounted using BTRFS. All right, and so let's list it to make sure that's working. Okay, looks good. And notice it's looking at the mounted partition. That's actually very important. All right, now we got to refresh the repository. Next, let's go ahead and take a look at the patterns here. Okay, and so what this does is it lists the patterns that you can use to install certain meta packages. That's what they call it in Debian. No, actually, call it in Ubuntu. They call it a meta package. So what this is a meta package. So if you want it, let's say you want it KDE Plasma, you would then use this pattern here to install everything that KDE Plasma needs, every package that KDE Plasma needs to work. So in other words, these are again meta packages. All right, next. Okay, we have to install the base system. Okay. And now we need to install the second part here. And notice it's installing into the /mnt mount point. Next up is let's see, we're installing 16, so we don't need to do this. Install a desktop environment. So let's go ahead and install KDE. Actually, let me take a look at the patterns again. Okay, so I think there's KDE Plasma. Here we go. Yeah, okay, that's right. All right, let's go ahead and install KDE. Okay, let's do a zipper cleanup. Set the host name. And let me change this. Set the locale or locale, however you want to pronounce that. Also, use your correct region, that's important. Set the key map. And let me go ahead and just take that. Okay. Optional, change the UUID. This is for the crypt tab, and I don't need to do that. Okay, now here comes the fstab. Alright, so I want to make sure that I get the correct UUID. So I do an lsblk, and this is what I had set. See, A08 right there. Yep. So when I change the UUID for the BTRFS file system, I made sure that it reflected the same for fstab here, so this is correct. Okay. However, my second partition, which is here, has this UUID. So let me see. Let me get rid of this. Okay, and get rid of home for the BTRFS because we don't have a home for BTRFS. Okay, and let's see, we have There we go. We want this, and wait a minute. Let me. Okay, let me get rid of this. There we go. Okay, so the fstab should point to the encrypted Luke's container. So it's not this, it's this one here. This is the Luke's container, the encrypted container. Copy that, and let me get rid of that. Get rid of this. Okay, and that'll be home, and it's using extend 4. Okay, so that's correct. So let me expand this, and so this is right. This is correct. Okay. Okay. So next, we want to, we don't have EFI, so we want to set up the crypt tab. And the crypt tab is, it should be this UUID. It's the device that holds the container. So let's see, let me copy this. Okay, and let's see, second partition, and okay, and let me just check really quick here. Alright, so the UUID is 062, and it should be this one, so that's correct. Alright, next up, we want to root into the install base system. Okay, now we are in the install base system, and you can tell by this slasher. Alright, so next up, set up the time zone. Let's see, I already know my time zone, so I'm not going to do that. Let's just take this one here. Alright, create a user. So this is for 15.6. This is for 16. So let's do this one. Okay, and then we want to set up the password. Okay, and then we want to be able to sudo. All right, and we want to be able to sudo, we need to comment out this one. Whoops. Well, let me start again. Okay, so we want to comment out this one and this one. And then we want to uncomment this one, which gives the wheel group access. Okay. All right, next up. Okay, optional. Let's enable network manager. And let's enable SSH. And to allow for further updates without repository modifications. Okay, we want to do that. So let's copy 16. Okay. And yeah, we definitely want to do this one. Okay. All right. Prepare to install grub. Yeah, this is yeah, you have to do this one. So let's go ahead and exit, and then we'll do this this step here. So exit, and this unmounts, and then we have to remount without the sub volumes. And then we want to get back into groot. And then we want to, because we're using snapshots, we want to add this to grub. Okay. All right, so we're done preparing to install grub. We haven't actually installed grub, but we prepared it. So next up is dual boot. We're not doing that. So let's skip that. Kernel parameters. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, and let's see. Let's go ahead and do this one here. And let me get rid of this one. Okay. All right. Okay, now let's go ahead and update grub. Okay. Okay, now we need to create the initial RAM disk. So use the, whoops. Okay, so that's the kernel version. And since we are using BTRFS, we want to use this here. And we want to copy this. Okay. Now we want to update grub again. Okay. And Now we install the bootloader. Okay. And now we exit and reboot. Exit, and let me bring up before I reboot. So this is the it's the VM, and we used the SSH client, which is here, to connect to this live CD or ISO, whatever you want to call it, and we did a remote installation because we want to be able to copy and paste. So you can't really copy and paste inside this VM when you're in rescue mode, but you can do it here using SSH. All right, so let's go ahead and reboot. All right. Whoops, wait a minute. We need to unmount this here. Let me unmount this here. Okay, let me full screen this. Okay, that's a good sign. So as you can see, it says Leap 16. So that's a good sign. And let's let's go ahead and enter. Okay, and it asks for the passphrase. Okay. Okay. It looks good. Okay, let me get out of full screen. Okay, so technically now SUSE has been installed. However, we need to set up the snapper to create snapshots, and so we're almost done, but we definitely need to set up the snapshots. So so let me just reconnect, and I think it should be the same IP address. Yes. Okay. So to set up snapper or snapshots, we do this here. Configure snapper. Yeah, this is important. During the initial snapper rollback, you may get the following error. If so, perform the rollback using this command here. So this is the error here, if you get it. But you only have to do it once, and afterwards, if you do future subsequent snapshots, I'm sorry, snapper rollbacks, you won't need to use this command. You just use it. You don't need to use the ambit classic. You just use the basic snapper rollback. The first thing we need to do is we need to copy the script. Actually, before I copy the script, I copy this name. Okay, then I copy the script. Okay, and let's see. Okay, and let's go ahead and run the script. Okay, and as you can see, Snapper created a test or initial test snapshot, so that's a good sign. All right, so let's go ahead and test out the Snapper. So let me go ahead and let's see. Let me install something, and when you install something, the Snapper should take a pre snapshot, and then it takes a post snapshot. So, whoops, let's see, Snapper list should give me the same list. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and install something simple. Okay, and let's see, 1 plus 1, 2. Good. Okay, so as you can see, BC has been installed and it works. So now let's do a list, and it should have a pre and a post right there, a pre and a post. So that's a good sign. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to revert back to the pre before I installed BC. So I can either do it here or I can do it at grub. So let's do it at grub first. So let me go ahead and reboot. Okay, and okay, right there. As you can see, there's my test snapshot that was created by this script. Okay, let's go back to the pre. And yes. Okay, so since we are going back to the pre snapshot before I install BC, this is currently read only, and we can test that as soon as this finishes loading. Okay, so we're at the desktop, and let me log back in, and the image should be this OS here should be read only. And to test that, read only. So that's correct. Okay, So now we're going to do a snapper rollback so that we can have a read-write file system. So roll back. Whoops, wait a minute. We need to go into sudo snapper rollback. Okay, so here's that ambit message. So we go back here and we do this rollback, and you should only have to do this once. Back. Okay. Okay. And snapper list. Okay, and there we go. So let's go ahead and reboot. Okay, and let's go ahead and log back in. Okay, and actually let me go here. Okay, and we should have a rewrite. We can do a quick test. Yep. Okay, let me go ahead and delete that test. Okay. All right. So so now since we went back to the pre-snapshot before BC was installed, we can make sure that BC is not installed by typing up the typing BC, and we should get an error message. There we go. So we went back to a time before BC was installed, and so the reverting back to the time BC was not installed has been successful. So now let's do one last test, and as I indicated earlier, the ambit message should disappear or no longer pop up. So let me go ahead and install another program. Okay. All right, so socks has been installed, and now let me do a list. And here we go. So this is before socks was installed, and then this is the after. And so now we're going to revert back to the before socks was installed, but instead of going through the grub, we'll do it here. So let's do snapper roll back number 7. There you go. And notice the ambit error message no longer appears. So let me go ahead and reboot. So BC is not installed, and let's see if I can enlarge this here. Okay, and socks is not installed. Okay, there you have it. And let me do a list here. Yep, there we go. So the rollback was successful. Alright, so let me get it out of this. Okay, I think that's it. Let's see, so we set up the snapper, and oh yeah, you definitely want to set up the Pac-Man. Well, I mean, you don't really have to, but if you want to play audio, then you need that. Yeah, and the ZRAM, you want to set up the ZRAM or create your own swap file. Since we didn't create a swap file for the setup, so either use ZRAM or another swap file, and create RC loco, RC shutdown. That's about it. Oh yeah, that's right. One last thing here. Leap 16 no longer has Yaz. So if you like Yaz, then you probably want to stay at 15. So anyways, let me go back up. And there you go. So as I indicated earlier, it took me a few weeks to figure out the BTRFS and snapper and how that worked. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.